What happened? Okay, this is really weird. What happened? When did we go off? I said I was going to create a poll, and what happened? And then I was typing something, and then it said it couldn't save my video. And then I was like, what do you mean it can't save my video? What happened? When did you lose me? When I said I was going to create a poll? Did you hear me say I was going to create a poll? I don't understand what happened at all. Hold on a minute. I want to just see something because did you hear me say, hi Julie, did you hear me say I was going to create a poll to see what you thought about this? Oh my goodness. I don't know what this is about. Somebody sent me something. I don't know. I'll check in a minute. Let me see something. Let me know, please, where I ended. If you guys were gone, like when I was reading a bunch of, I'm just gonna go like out of my mind. Seriously. Yeah, I don't know what the freak, why that ended that way. Tell me what happened. You said it wouldn't let you put a poll. Okay, so you heard me until then. Now at least that's good. That was so crazy. What the heck was that about? All right. Let me do the poll anyway, okay? Now maybe I can do the poll. I can. Okay. So. Go ahead. Let's see. It buffered and stopped. Oh boy. Okay, so 30%, but we've only had few people vote so far. We lost all of our people that were in the other live. That sucks. I said it wouldn't let me do a poll and it ended. That really sucks. You heard me say, what do I think? So far, we only have 10 votes. 30% of those people think Richard Allen is innocent based on this. 70% think it's a bunch of lies. But I was going to look at something just to see about, because this is, let's see. The Odin report. Let's see if I can do some of this Odin report. I don't know, we'll see what I can do here, because I kind of got a little bit of a second wind when the whole stream went down. But sometimes then when I start reading, it makes me sleepy again. So we'll see. But I can start on some of this, and then I'll have to change the title now. Let me just change the title. Okay, let's do this. Let me get rid of this, and this, and this. Okay. At least people will know what we're doing. Okay. So we were to the Odin report. As part of discovery, the defense received a 12-page Word document that provided a summary of Trooper Kevin Murphy's investigation of the Odinite angle. Over time, for reference purposes, the defense has come to call this document the Odin report. Therefore, to more clearly reference this document throughout the rest of the memo, the defense will use the moniker Odin report when discussing this report. The Odin report was created by Indiana State Trooper Kevin Murphy, who thankfully was independently curious. The Unified Command, through Leggett and Hammond, had concluded by March 2017 that Brad Holder should be cleared as a suspect, as will be detailed later. Further, the Unified Command had claimed that it had concluded very early on, probably March 2017, that Odinites were not involved, as discussed earlier, despite Leggett and Holman clearing Holder as a suspect in March of 2017, and despite a mystery Purdue professor dismissing all links between Odinism and the murders. Murphy pressed on. Murphy began investigating a man named Elvis Fields down in Rushville, Indiana, 126 miles away. The fruits from this investigation ultimately boomeranged Murphy, as well as law enforcement officers Greg Ferenczi and Todd Click, back to Brad Holder and therefore back to Odinism. Murphy, Ferenczi, and Todd Click's dogged pursuit of the truth is what we citizens and those accused of crimes should expect out of law enforcement. These honorable law enforcement officers were knocking on doors and conducting interviews, going wherever the evidence led them. Immediately following an interview, Murphy would reduce key aspects of that interview into a Word document. Over time, the Odin report grew from a single page, from his first interview with Mary Jacobs, to 12 pages, with the last pages used for summing up his thoughts from all the interviews he had conducted. The defense had attached this document to this memorandum and marked it as Exhibit 36. Surprisingly to Murphy, even though he was handing over to Unified Command powerful evidence that really painted a clear picture of who was involved in the murders, Holman and Leggett did not seem interested. Eventually, Murphy said that Unified Command phased out the Odinite Rush County angle. He, Murphy, figured that this phasing out was due to Unified Command knowing things that he, Murphy, didn't know. That eliminated the Odinism angle. Murphy further stated, "I kind of took my marching orders and just did what I was told and went where I was needed." In other words, Murphy trusted that Unified Command was doing the right thing. The defense would encourage the court to stop and review this document before continuing to read the memorandum, as the Odin report will be discussed over the next several pages. Who is Brad Holder? Who is Patrick Westfall? Who is Johnny Messer? Who is Elvis Fields? Who is Rod Abrams? And why does the evidence strongly point towards these men as having been involved in the murder of Abby and Libby? The Odin report provides much of the information. However, the report is not the only source of evidence provided by the state of Indiana that links these men to the murders. The investigative fingerprints of Todd Click and the late Greg Ferenczi are prominently peppered throughout the Odin report as well. Click also prepared a roughly 85-page report and delivered it to Unified Command. However, the defense didn't receive this document until September 8th, 2023, nearly 10 months after defense counsel entered their appearance. The defense will now show what Leggett and the rest of the Unified Command knew but refused to act on. This information is also what Leggett concealed from Judge D. The defense will include the evidence that links these men to the crime scene and to each other, including the intimate knowledge that these men had of the crime scene that only someone who had been at the crime scene would know. Brad Holder's connection to the crime scene. Brad Holder's son, Logan Holder, was dating Abby Williams at the time of the murders. Nobody denies this fact. Amber Holder, for example, discusses this fact on page 9 of the Odin report. Exhibit 37 is a document memorializing the only known interview of Brad Holder concerning the Delphi murders, at least through August 30th, 2023. In that document, it is learned Brad Holder details that he was usually in Delphi every weekend visiting his friend Patrick Westfall and attending as a true religious ceremonies at Patrick Westfall's house, usually on Sundays. As a true is interchangeable with Odinism. Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder had been friends prior to the murders of Abby and Libby. In fact, Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder were found in a photograph together as late as January 21st, 2017. Find attached a copy of said photograph marked as Exhibit 38. Murphy noted on page 11 of the Odin report that Westfall appears 10 times in pictures that Holder posts on Facebook prior to February 13th, 2017. However, after February 13th, 2017, Westfall does not appear in any of Holder's posed photos. What happened to the friendship of Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall? Amber Holder tells a very disturbing story. As can be viewed on page 9 of the Odin report, Amber told law enforcement the following. She, Amber, said that Brad spoke of Patrick one time when he was intoxicated, and said he and Patrick got into a fight, and they no longer speak to each other. He told her that he and Westfall were in the woods, near a river, conducting a ritual. One of them said or did something that the other did not agree with, and they no longer talked to each other. She said the river was near Patrick's house. Note, Brad has a Facebook post with him and Patrick together on January 21st, 2017. Patrick Westfall was living in Delphi at the time. Find attached marked as Exhibit 39 and filed as confidential. This document is the narrative report of what is believed to be the only interview police conducted of Patrick Westfall. The address where Westfall was living at the time was 3.1 miles, or roughly a 7-minute drive, to the cemetery, which is the closest entry point to where the girls were murdered. As we know from Exhibit 37 attached to the memorandum, Brad Holder admitted that he, Holder, spent every weekend hanging out with his friend Patrick Westfall in Delphi and participated in the Asatru religious ceremonies on Sunday with Patrick Westfall. The girls were abducted on Monday, February 13th, 2017. Patrick Westfall appeared to no longer be friends after February 13th, 2017. The defense is unaware as to whether law enforcement were even mildly curious enough to seek Brad Holder or Patrick Westfall out to ask them about the explosive information Amber told police about an argument over a ritual gone bad in the woods sometime in February 2017. Additionally, Richard Allen's defense team is unaware whether law enforcement sought a search warrant for Brad Holder or Patrick's homes. Amber Holder tells a second and equally disturbing story. When interviewed a second time, Amber discussed another conversation she, Amber, had with Brad Holder. She had gone to Brad Holder's house to visit him. While the children were upstairs, she, Amber, inquired about Patrick Westfall under the ruse that Amber's girlfriend had a date with Patrick. This is what it contained on page 10 of the Odin report. Brad became very nervous and told her that she needed to stay away from Westfall, or she would end up dead. She said that Brad told her Westfall and his crew were responsible for the murders of the girls in Delphi and a fire that killed 2 girls. I asked her if she knew of the fires in Florida that killed 4 girls, and she said she was not familiar with any fires that killed any children until Brad mentioned it today. She said Brad may have been talking about the fire, but had the number of killed wrong. She said Brad told her that Westfall and his crew had friends in several states and that they had no problem killing race traders. I asked her to... Hang on a minute. I asked her to clarify race trader, and she said she believed that it meant white people who mixed with other races. Amber said Brad told her that Westfall belonged to a group called Vinlanders and 22. Brad told her that Westfall had many people backing him up and powerful friends. She said that Brad was very nervous while telling her these things and was whispering like he was fearful someone else would hear him. She said that throughout the conversation, Brad was constantly telling her to stay away from Westfall. He also told her that Patrick had killed a lot of people, and it didn't matter if they were innocent or not. Amber truly believes Brad is scared of Westfall. Prior to Amber leaving, she said that Brad told her to stay off Westfall's radar, and I can only protect you so much if you keep asking questions. He told her that if Westfall found out she was married to him, that she would be in danger. Brad also questioned her on why Westfall would be going on a date, that he was under the impression that Westfall was married or engaged to someone. Imagine being an investigator trying to solve a horrible murder, having learned all this information. What would a good investigator do? What would good leadership in the form of uniform command do with this information? We would ask the court to think about all the tools that law enforcement had in its arsenal to pursue an investigation once these explosive stories were told. It doesn't appear that unified command did anything. It honestly says uniform command in this document. It doesn't appear that unified command did anything. The question then may be, did they, including Leggett, want to do anything to investigate the Odinites? Was unified oh gosh, it keeps doing this again. Was the Unified Command and Tony Leggett, a member of Unified Command, acting intentionally or recklessly in the way it conducted the investigation? And by extension, was Leggett acting intentionally or recklessly in concealing this information from the judge in his affidavit for the search warrant? What else linked Holder to the crime? On April 7, 2017, Holder posted a photo of a hand marked with the exact rune found on Abby's body. Attached and marked as Exhibit 41 is a Facebook post that displays Brad Holder's hand. The photo displays Brad Holder showing off a rune that was inked into his hand, not a tattoo, but likely from an ink pen. It shows Brad Holder is proudly showing off the same rune that the killers laid on Abby's body using sticks. This image was posted by Brad Holder approximately 52 days after the murders. The public had no idea what the crime scene looked like and that Abby had sticks placed on her body like a Hegel rune. Yet, Brad Holder, coincidentally, was showing off the same rune that was found on Abby? That should be important information for curious, honest, and well-intentioned law enforcement officers. Honest Trooper Murphy admitted that the image of the rune drawn on Holder's hand was similar in appearance to the rune found on Abby's body. Find attached side-by-side image of the rune that Brad Holder drew on his hand next to Abby's crime scene photograph marked as Exhibit 42 and filed as confidential. Trooper Holman, on the other hand, refused to admit that the two images on Exhibit 42 look similar. I mean, it's a stretch that you could say the exact same formation, is what Holman said when comparing the two. By admitting that these images match or look like each other, Holman would then have to be admitting that Holder should have been a suspect, because the rune on Holder's hand matched the rune found on Abby's body when the details of the crime scene were not known to the public. This is why honest cop Murphy admitted the obvious, that the two images look alike. But Holman refuses to admit the obvious. Holman has hitched his wagon to Richard Allen's guilt and can't consider any other candidate, and certainly cannot concede that Unified Command's investigation has been a shameful embarrassment. Therefore, Holman has to continue the charade of proclaiming that the two images contained in Exhibit 42 don't look similar, whether he actually believes it or not. However, while Holman cannot admit that the two images on Exhibit 42 look like one another, Holman, is the same person that claimed that only minor differences exist between Sketch 1 and Sketch 2. As you will learn later in the memorandum, Sarah Carbow claims to have observed a man walking down the road with mud on his clothing around 3:57 p.m. on the day of the murders. The man she observed turned into a Sketch 1. According to Holman, Sketch 1 is the killer, Richard Allen. You will learn later in the memorandum that Betsy Blair observed a man on the High Bridge about 2 p.m. The man she observed turned into Sketch 2. According to Holman, the man is also the killer, Richard Allen. Later, you will learn that for Leggett and Holman's timeline to work, Sketch 1 and Sketch 2 need to represent this same exact person, Richard Allen. Sketch 1 is attached as Exhibit 105, and Sketch 2 is attached as Exhibit 103. We would ask you, Judge, to take those exhibits out and to please look at them. Those two exhibits, according to Holman, are the same person, Richard Allen. And they need to be the same person in order to support Holman's timeline. Yet, Holman will not admit the obvious, that the men represented in those sketches look nothing like each other, nor like Richard Allen. Needing them to be the same man, Holman testified under oath that only minor differences exist between Sketch 1 and Sketch 2. This is how entrenched Holman is in his position that Richard Allen is guilty. He can't even admit the obvious. To further demonstrate the ridiculousness of Holman's alleged belief that except for minor differences, Sketch 1 and Sketch 2 look alike, let's look at what Toby Liazenby said about Sketch 1 and Sketch 2 in his sworn statement. Toby Liazenby stated that Sketch 1 and Sketch 2 are in fact two different men. While Richard Allen sits in a prison waiting for full disclosure of all evidence in the state's possession, the current sheriff and former sheriff can't even keep their story straight as to how many men were involved and whether Sketch 1 and Sketch 2 represent the same man, Richard Allen, as Holman claims, or two different men, Richard Allen and someone else, as Liazenby claims. While Holman will not agree that Brad Holder's Facebook hand rune resembles the stick formation found on Abby's body, because that promotes Brad Holder as a suspect at the same time. Holman will tell you that Sketch 1 and Sketch 2 look alike with only minor differences, because that promotes Richard Allen as the suspect. How far was Holman willing to stretch this incredible claim? When Holman was asked which resembles each other more, Sketch 1 and Sketch 2, or the two images found side by side in Exhibit 42, Holman claimed that Sketch 1 and number 2 looked more alike to each other than the two images found in Exhibit 42 look alike to each other. We ask the court the same question and see if you have the same answer as Holman. Please look at Sketch number 1 and Sketch number 2. Then look at the side-by-side images on Exhibit 42. Would you claim under oath that Sketch number 1 and number 2 look more alike to each other than the two images found on Exhibit 42 look alike to each other? The fact that Holman refuses under oath to admit the obvious truth should provide insight into whether Holman and his fellow Unified Commander member, Tony Leggett, acted intentionally in concealing information from the judge. Trooper Purdy and Trooper Winters were aware of an eerie image on Brad Holder's Facebook page of what appeared to be a faked murder scene mimicking Abby and Libby's murder scene. When Trooper Purdy learned from Becky Patty that Brad Holder was an Odinist, at least for a short period of time, he was curious about Brad Holder. This short-term curiosity led to Purdy looking into Brad's Facebook page, where he, Purdy, found a very eerie photograph. This photograph is marked as Exhibit 43. It shows two girls lying on what appears to be the ground of a forest. The girls either are dead or posed as if they were dead. The girls have tree limbs arranged over their bodies. The girl in the forefront of the photograph has her left arm and hand positioned very similarly to that of Libby's left arm and hand outstretched above her head. The defense has prepared a side-by-side photograph of the mimicked photograph compared with the crime scene photograph of Libby, which is marked Exhibit 44 and filed as confidential. Although both girls are dressed and the limbs on the girls are not arranged exactly like the limbs and sticks on Abby and Libby, the similarity of the photo found on Brad Holder's Facebook page is pronounced. Purdy did not think much of this in terms of implicating Brad Holder. At least that is what he is claiming now in 2023. However, even before Purdy had found that disturbing image on Holder's Facebook page, a tipster had beat him to the punch by finding it much, much earlier. The contents of a February 16, 2017, tip was written up in a report designated as DIN C 0000048. This tip came in just 2 days after the girls were found. This tip said the following: father of Logan Holder, ex-boyfriend of Libby, social media shows him a member of the Vinlanders, post of half-dead women, and fascination with Gothic figures and symbols out of tree branches. This report shows that Leggett actually approved further investigation of Brad Holder based upon that tip. This very same disturbing image came to the attention of law enforcement a third time by way of a gentleman named Ryan Boucher from Georgia. This tip was received by Trooper Joseph Winters on April 12, 2017, and converted into a report. An unredacted copy of this report is attached and marked as Exhibit 46, and marked as confidential. The defense will hereinafter refer to this report as the Winters report. Ryan Boucher has also signed an affidavit detailing his failed attempts to gain the interest of Carroll County law enforcement concerning the information that Boucher discovered on Holder's social media accounts. That affidavit is attached and marked as Exhibit 47. Boucher's affidavit also details other aspects of the case discussed in this memorandum. As the affidavit details, Boucher talked directly to then Sheriff Toby Liazenby about Boucher's findings. This conversation would have occurred sometime before Boucher's April 12, 2017 conversation with Trooper Winters. Liazenby told Boucher that Holder was not a suspect and quickly dispensed of the phone call, as detailed in Boucher's affidavit. Despite Liazenby's comments essentially telling Boucher that Holder had been eliminated as a suspect, Boucher was undeterred. Boucher felt something was off and called the state police post, as detailed in the Winters report. Once Boucher provided his ID, Boucher then provided Winters pictures from Holder's media account depicting 3 limbs on the ground, displaying runes consistent with the Odin belief system. Winters report, page 2. Then Winters wrote in the report that the provided media pictures show unknown young girls believed to be deceased with sticks placed over their bodies. The sticks across the females on Holder's media were believed to be symbols or runes. It should be noted that law enforcement has to this day still failed to turn over the mimicked murder photograph found on Holder's Facebook page, Exhibit 43. Fortunately, defense counsel was able to find Winters' report in the sea of evidence, and upon reading it, understood the potential importance that this photograph may have in terms of Holder's culpability in the murders. The only problem is that law enforcement has failed to produce it for the defense. Fortunately, through due diligence, the defense team has located Boucher, drove to Georgia, and met with Boucher, who was then willing to provide the images to Richard's defense team, and did in fact turn those images over to Richard Allen's defense team. Even as recently as at his August 23, 2023 deposition, Winters stated that he was still unable to locate the images referenced in the Winters report that Boucher had provided Winters back on April 12th of 2017. This means that if the defense team had not traveled to Georgia, it would still not be in possession of the exculpatory piece of evidence, and also would not have been able to ask questions at depositions to law enforcement concerning those images. To this very day, the state of Indiana has yet to turn over those images that Boucher provided Winters back in 2017. Following his interaction with Boucher, as can be read in Winters' report, it was apparent that Trooper Winters' interest was piqued. The details surrounding the February 14, 2017 crime scene was a well-guarded secret, hidden from the public. Yet somehow, Brad Holder, an Odinite whose son dated Abby Williams, had an image on his Facebook page that closely resembled the crime scene and appeared to have used an ink pen to draw a rune on his hand that mimicked the very rune that was found on Abby. Both images are described in Winter's report, so what did Winters do once he realized that it appeared that Abby's boyfriend's dad, Brad Holder, appeared to know intimate details about a crime scene that was kept confidential from the public? He spoke with Jerry Holman, Winters report, page 2. The information that Winters unearthed via Ryan Boucher was so impactful on Winters that he, Winters, remembers talking with Jerry Holman of Unified Command. Winters even recorded the following in his report. I spoke with Sergeant Holman on April 12, 2017. Sergeant Holman advised that FBI had interviewed Holder shortly at the beginning of the investigation. In his deposition, Winters provided his reasoning. Yeah, I think there are some substantial things that need to follow up on. In the same deposition, Winters also said that he wanted to make sure that all the information I had captured in my time from that was passed on. And because I had just taken this information, I just wanted to make sure, if I had no contact with anybody involved in this case again, that they were aware that I generated this supplement. Winters felt that the Boucher tip was important. He felt it's so important that he wanted to make sure someone followed up on the lead, at a minimum re-interviewing Brad Holder. Again, it should be noted that as of September 11, 2023, the defense had still not received the February 17, 2017 interview of Holder. Even the state of Indiana's most recent discovery dump, which occurred September 8th of 2023, still did not contain Holder's February 17th, 2017 interview. However, on September 8th, 2023, Rick's defense team learned something very interesting. On about September 4th, 2023, Trooper Holman finally followed up on Winters' request by finally re-interviewing Holder. It only took 5+ years. The defense still has not received Holder's first interview from February 17th of 2017. We'll see how long it takes for the state to turn over Holder's second interview from September 4th, 2023. If Holman did in fact re-interview Holder on September 4th of 2023, it should be noted that the interview came on the heels of the defense team's contentious August 10th, 2023 deposition of Holman. The defense asked Holman, "Are you going to fix these problems, or are you going to actually look for the truth?" His response, "I'm going to look for the truth, but I think I've already found the truth. But I definitely will look into this, no doubt about it, and I will find out if we have done the follow-ups. And I don't know about it, and I will let Prosecutor McClelland know, and he can forward that information to you." The defense looks forward to watching the first Holder interview from February 2017, as well as the most recent Holder interview, to see if Holman treated Holder as an actual suspect, a label befitting the strong evidence that connects him to the murders, or if Holman's interview consists of softball questions lobbed at Holder with the purpose of fending off the defense rather than seeking the truth. Brad Holder created a creepy painting of a man, believed to be Odin, hanging upside down from a tree with his legs posed similar to Abby's at the crime scene. This painting also contains 2 hidden Easter eggs, including a red F rune at the base of the tree, just like the F rune painted on the tree at the crime scene. Previously, the defense marked as exhibits 32 and 33. These are the creepy images of the painting that Brad Holder created in February of 2018. The image is of a man hanging by his feet. Brad Holder provided at least 2 Easter eggs in this painting for anyone following him on Facebook. The first Easter egg is another example showcasing Holder's knowledge of the hush-hush crime scene, guarded from the general public. You will notice that at the base of a tree is a rune painted blood red. The rune looks like the letter F, just like the letter F rune at the crime scene, painted on the tree using Libby's blood. The other Easter egg is the date that Brad Holder placed on the painting in the lower right-hand corner of the painting. You will see that it looks like 2/17 and then some gibberish. It looks therefore like a month, February, and the year 2017. Abby and Libby were slain in February 2017. Upon closer inspection, it appears that the date in the corner may be 2/17/18. If so, this painting was drawn 1 year to the day that Brad Holder was interviewed by the police and then essentially dropped as a suspect. Is this just a fluke that Holder painted a red F at the base of this tree almost 1 year to the day that the girls were slain when the crime scene was a guarded secret? Is it just a fluke that the date in the right-hand corner of this eerie painting shows 2/17? Unified Command would probably say, yes, just a coincidence. 2016 Brad Holder video from his Facebook page shows a pagan ritual with the most important part at the very end. A man that looks like Patrick Westphal appears to be using his fingers to paint a tree. Libby's blood was found on one of the trees at the crime scene in the form of an F that someone painted on the tree using their fingers or some type of utensil. On December 12, 2018, Tony Leggett received an email from law enforcement officer Greg Ferenczi. It is a very informative email concerning Brad Holder's supposed alibi and the investigation into whether Holder dumped his old phone and received a new phone number, and also whether Holder sold his vehicle after 2/13/2017. Find attached a copy of this email marked as Exhibit 48. The very last paragraph discusses a ceremony that Holder videotaped in Fort Wayne in 2016. Ferenczi left a Facebook link so that Leggett could watch the ceremony. The video was not turned over to the defense until the defense made the specific request for the video sometime in August 2023. This roughly 25-minute ceremony itself is odd. At the beginning of the video, Brad Holder is revealed as the person videotaping the ceremony. During the last few minutes of the video, when the presumed Odinites are dumping water at the base of the tree, you see a man that appears to be Patrick Westphal enter the scene. Once he is at the tree, you can see this man use his hand to what looks like mark the tree. Unfortunately, the viewer cannot see with what word, letter, or symbol, if any, this person, presumably Westphal, is marking the tree. The marking appears to occur at a similar height from the base of the tree as the marking of Libby's blood was in the crime scene photos. Ferenczi sent a link of this video directly to Leggett. The video seems to show Westphal marking the tree in a similar manner in which the F tree was marked with Libby's blood at the crime scene. Even Ferenczi commented on Westphal marking the tree in the email, yet Leggett either intentionally or recklessly disregarded this evidence, potentially linking both Holder and Westphal to the crime scene. F-rune formed with sticks on ground resembles F-rune found on the tree in Libby's blood. Attached to the memorandum is a photo provided to the defense in discovery from Brad Holder's Facebook page. The photo shows an F that Holder made from sticks from a tree. The image is marked as Exhibit 50. The defense took the image, placed it side by side with the F made from Libby's blood at the crime scene, and marked that side-by-side photograph as Exhibit 51. Again, these exhibits display yet another example of Holder posting to Facebook images that mimic information from the crime scene, unavailable to the public in two ways. One, sticks are used, like the runes on the girls, and two, the F rune is used as the F rune used and painted on the tree. A meme that Brad Holder posted on 2/17/2017, 3 days after the girls are found murdered, which discussed how real friends will help you move dead bodies, and then the friends will keep their mouths shut. This meme was deleted at some point in time, but still recovered by law enforcement. Exhibit 52 is a meme that investigators found that had been erased from Brad Holder's Facebook page. This image was obtained through discovery. The meme shows a still shot from a scene from the movie Goodfellas in which the main characters are moving a dead body from one place to another. Billy Bat's dead body had been in one location, but later it was moved. The meme says, Your real ones don't judge you or ask a bunch of questions. Image of the good fellows moving the dead body. They help you move the body and never speak of it again. So 3 days earlier, Brad's son's girlfriend was found murdered. The girls' bodies were moved at the crime scene from one location where they were killed to a different location at the crime scene where they were found, February 14th, 2017. They, friends, help you move the body and never speak of it again. Toby Lianzenby and Tony Leggett in private know that it took many men to accomplish all the tasks needed for the crime scene to exist the way it existed when the bodies were found. The timing is certainly curious. For a man who should have been mourning the brutal death of his son's girlfriend, a meme about moving dead bodies should create curiosity with law enforcement, especially when considering all the other evidence that links Holder to the crime scene. Why did Holder erase this meme? Was the meme a quick shout out to Brad Holder's Odinite buddies, thanking them for helping him with the bodies? Did this meme reveal the brazenness and overconfidence that Holder had concerning the belief that he would get away with the murders? These are questions that could have been posed to Holder in an aggressive interrogation. However, for Leggett and the rest of the unified command, the meme was just nothing to see here. 2 a.m. Facebook post 12 hours after the girls go missing that says his testosterone is through the roof. This post was later deleted as well. Although Brad Holder told police that he went from work straight to the gym to work out in Logansport in the afternoon, here is Brad Holder at 2 a.m., purportedly at a fitness center, proclaiming that his energy and testosterone is through the roof right now. Find attached that Facebook post marked Exhibit 53. Why was his testosterone so high? Why was his energy level so high? Why did he claim to go to the gym at 2 a.m. when he also claimed he had been to the gym just a few hours earlier? Why was he at the gym when he was supposed to be at work in a couple of hours? Did he go to work the next day? Why did he delete this Facebook post? Why would he be saying these things when his son is purportedly upset about his girlfriend being missing, as the girls had not yet been found when Holder posted this message to Facebook? Law enforcement officers, to our knowledge, never asked those questions in an aggressive interrogation of Holder. Perhaps they did at the recent September 4th, 2023 interview. We shall see. In Greg Ferenczi's December 12, 2018 email to Tony Leggett, Ferenczi had a few questions about Holder's deleted email. This included questioning whether Holder's alibi about being at the gym should be further considered. Holder's purported alibi is discussed in a later section. Brad Holder's Facebook page links him to Elvis Fields in Rushville, Indiana. Elvis has admitted to participating in the murders and to now being part of a gang, even providing intimate details of the crime scene that only those participating in the murders would know. Elvis followed Brad Holder on Facebook and even recreated Brad Holder's Facebook pages like a fanboy. It makes sense near the finish of this section, detailing some of the evidence that links Brad Holder to the murders by supplying the court with certain Facebook posts by Brad Holder that were mimicked and even recreated by a man named Elvis Fields. This will allow for a smooth transition to the next suspect on whom this memo will be focused, Elvis Fields. Who is Elvis Fields? This man that was mimicking Brad Holder's Facebook posts from 126 miles away. You will soon learn that he is a man that has admitted to both of his sisters that he was involved in the murders. A man who told his sister that because of his involvement, he was now part of a gang and had a brother. A man who, after providing his DNA, asked police that if he could explain why his spit might be on one of the girls, would he still be in trouble? And then admitted to his sister that he did, in fact, spit on one of the girls, and perhaps most incriminating, a man who could provide intimate details about the crime scene, the type of detail that only those who were at the crime scene could possess. Upon closer inspection, you will learn that Brad Holder and Elvis Fields did in fact have a common connection, Johnny Messer, but that Elvis lied to police, claiming he, Elvis, did not know Johnny Messer. Evidence provided by law enforcement shows that Elvis Fields lived in Rushville, 125 plus miles away from Delphi. Additionally, Elvis, at first glance, seemingly had no connection to Delphi or Logansport. However, once law enforcement officers Greg Ferenczi and Kevin Murphy learned that Elvis had confessed to his sisters, and especially after Elvis posted a bizarre question to Murphy, these curious law enforcement officers wanted to look at Elvis's Facebook page and ultimately compared it with Brad Holder's Facebook page. And what they found was extremely telling. Elvis was obviously following Brad Holder on Facebook, as evidenced by the multiple posts that Elvis mimicked Holder. Elvis Fields was not only following Brad Holder's Facebook page, but Elvis was also emulating Brad Holder by recreating Brad Holder's Facebook posts in the year leading up to the Abby and Libby murders. The defense is attaching a series of 9 side-by-side photographs created by law enforcement. On the left side of each exhibit is a photo that Brad Holder posted on his Facebook page, and on the right side of each exhibit is a photo that Elvis Fields posted on his Facebook page, in which Elvis took the time to actually recreate the photograph that Holder posted. They are marked as exhibits 55 through 63, highlighting just a few of those side-by-side photographs. Exhibit 55 shows that Brad Holder posted an image of brass knuckles surrounded by other weapons, guns, next to Elvis Fields' mimicked post, recreating a photo featuring brass knuckles surrounded by weapons, knives. B. Exhibit 56 shows that Brad Holder posted an image of Holder placing a single arrowhead in his hand next to Elvis Fields' mimicked post, recreating a photo of Elvis placing a single arrowhead in his hand. Exhibit 57 shows that Brad Holder posted an image of 2 arrowheads near each other next to Elvis's mimicked post, recreating a photo of 2 arrowheads next to each other. D. Exhibit 58 shows that Brad Holder posted a photograph of a single clear mason jar next to Elvis' mimicked post, recreating a photo of a single clear mason jar. This mimicking is certainly curious, especially when Brad Holder's son dated Abby Williams and when Elvis Fields, 125 plus miles away, confessed to both of his sisters on 2 different occasions that he was involved in the murders. This confession included telling one sister that Abby Williams was a troublemaker, and that is why he, Elvis, used sticks to form horns on Abby's head, and admitting to another sister that he was in big trouble and going away for a while because he was present when the girls were murdered, and that he spit on one of the girls. What are the odds that Brad Holder's son, dating Abby Williams, and 125 miles away, a fanboy of Brad Holder named Elvis Fields, was mimicking Brad Holder's Facebook posts, and that fanboy admitted to being involved in the murders of the girls? For Leggett and Holman, apparently, the coincidence was nothing important. Moreover, Trooper Roland Purdy refused to concede that Elvis's mimicked and recreated Facebook post proved any connection between Holder and Fields. Trooper Purdy explained that the mimicked and recreated photos between Brad Holder and Elvis Fields might just be a coincidence. Leggett failed to inform the judge of the evidence supporting Brad Holder's involvement in the murders before moving on to the evidence that supports Elvis Fields' involvement in the murders. The defense finishes that Brad Holder's section by 1. Discussing Holder's purported alibi, 2. Showing the evidentiary linkage between Holder and Elvis Fields that supports Holder luring Elvis to get involvement in the murders in order to join him, Holder, and Holder's gang. 3. The circumstances surrounding Unified Command's dropping the ball by intentionally or recklessly clearing Holder as a witness within weeks of the murders. Holder's alibi was not scrutinized, and evidence supports that Holder recruited mentally infirm Elvis Fields to assist in the abduction and murders, while Holder tried to stand behind a shady alibi. Holder's alibi was not even close to fully vetted. Whenever Holder's name was brought up as a suspect, one reason that kept popping up as to why Holder was cleared as a suspect was his purported alibi. An unclassified FBI report revealed the work or lack of work that law enforcement performed to check out Holder's alibi. The document is marked as Exhibit 65. The report was prepared on April 13, 2017. In this report, Pulaski Sheriff's Deputy Fred Rogers, followed up at the landfill, Liberty Landfill, in an attempt to verify the employment and the work schedule of Bradley Holder. Susan Case from Human Resources stated that Holder's time card showed that Holder, clocked in at 4:55 a.m. and that he clocked out at 2:45 p.m. Chase also said that she would be the only person that could manipulate the electronic time card. Chase further admitted that there was a security camera on site. Here is how Deputy Rogers memorialized that part of their conversation. Case advised, Brad drives a junky red truck to work with a G on the front bumper. Case advised the security camera at the scales may have picked up his vehicle coming and going on that date. Case advised that Holder stays on the property for his lunch break. The short report concludes with this. Case provided the officer a copy of the timesheet for this week showing Brad indeed had clocked in and out on February 13th, and he was still at work on today's date. Here's what we don't know about Holder's alibi at work. Did someone clock in for Holder? There is nothing that Chase said about the clocking in process that would prevent someone else from clocking in for Holder. Whether Holder was actually at work on February 13th, 2017, could have been better vetted by simply talking to Holder's workmates that would have been on the job site on February 13th, 2017 to determine if they remember that Brad Holder was present at work on February 13th. Did someone clock out for Holder? The same logic applies to this question. Perhaps Holder clocked in, but then left early, and asked one of his buddies to clock out for him. It is unknown whether Odinites worked alongside Holder at the landfill, as it appears that Deputy Rogers did very little investigative work on this very important topic of Holder's alibi, nor did anyone at Unified Command provide instructions for law enforcement to fully investigate every aspect of Holder's alibi. Did Chase actually watch the video? The report is so poorly written that it can't be determined whether Holder's distinctive vehicle could be seen on the video or whether Chase was merely claiming that, hey, if you want to watch a video from the camera placed near the scales, it may show Holder's truck coming and going. Did anyone in law enforcement watch the video alluded to by Chase? And if so, what did they see? It is quite maddening that the report refers to the possibility that a simple review of a video could determine whether Holder's junky red truck with the letter G on its front bumper was seen coming and going on February 13th. However, the fact is that this report does not inform anyone of whether law enforcement ever viewed this video. It would be presumed that if the deputy did watch the video, he would have memorialized it. Even if Holder's truck was viewed on the video, was Holder the person driving the truck as it arrived at the work at the site? Perhaps the video would be able to show the image of the person driving the truck to see if it was Holder. Even if Holder's truck was viewed on the video, was Holder the person driving the truck as it left the work site? In the event that Holder wanted to appear showing up for work, but then left early in someone else's vehicle, who picked Holder up at the site to get to Delphi in the early afternoon, it would be important to know who was driving the truck when it left the property. It is only 24.3 miles or 32 minutes from Buffalo, Indiana to Delphi, Indiana. Even if Brad Holder actually clocked out at 2:45 p.m., he could have been in Delphi before 3:15 p.m. If Holder left at noon and had a buddy of his clock him, Holder, out a couple of hours early to create the illusion that Holder was there all day, then Holder could have been on the trail by 1 p.m. This is why watching the video and interviewing employees who worked alongside Holder would have been a critical step to take in the investigation. Asking simple questions to his workmates like, did Brad leave for any period of time? Did Brad leave early? Was Brad even here? There's no excuse at all for failing to interview employees and for failing to watch the video. These failures leave open the real possibility that Brad Holder's alibi cannot be trusted without further vetting. Did police even consider that Brad Holder convinced his minions to abduct and participate in sacrificing the girls until he arrived? Evidence supports this theory, including a sketch of a man observed milling around the high bridge near the spot of the famous video. That sketch resembles Elvis Fields. Even Trooper Purdy can't deny that fact. Charles Manson did not serve a prison sentence for actually being the person that stabbed Sharon Tate 16 times. Manson's minions committed these heinous acts. Was it ever considered that Holder had devised the plan to kill those girls and used others to do his bidding? According to Unified Command's Jerry Holman, it was considered, but there's no evidence. We have no evidence indicating that he was commanding people to go kill people. Then Holman commented on the very serious topic. I mean, ask Richard Allen if Brad Holder told him to go kill the girls. I mean, you guys communicate with the guy that killed the girls. Holman's comment offers insight into Holman's mind-blowing lack of curiosity and his limited investigative skill set. Holman's refusal to consider whether evidence supported the possibility that a Holder was directing minions is par for the course of what the defense has learned from a review of the evidence. Since Holman is still not interested in facts that support the possibility or even likelihood that Holder was directing others to participate in the crime, here are a few pieces of evidence that support the premise that Holman and Leggett and all the Unified Command either recklessly or intentionally ignored. Brad Holder was from Logansport, Indiana, close to Delphi. Patrick Westfall was from Delphi, Indiana. Johnny Messer was from Rushville, roughly 125 miles from Delphi. Elvis Fields was from Rushville, roughly 125 miles from Delphi. Rushville's Johnny Messer was a Vinlander Odinite and good friends with fellow Vinlander Odinite Brad Holder from Logansport. Rushville's Johnny Messer was a Vinlander Odinite and good friends with fellow Vinlander Odinite Patrick Westfall from Logansport. Rushville's Johnny Messer recruited for his Vinlander gang all the time. Investigators learned that in the summer of 2016, Johnny Messer was recruiting men that lived in the Rushville apartment complex to attend Vinlander meetings. Also, that same summer of 2016, Elvis Fields was already mimicking and recreating Brad Holder's Facebook posts. This fact would provide evidence that Johnny Messer had already recruited Elvis Fields and introduced him to Brad Holder, and that Elvis was now following the group's leader, Brad Holder, on Facebook, and that Elvis was also emulating Holder. The recruiter, Johnny Messer, was a friend acquaintance of Elvis Fields, also from Rushville. The recruiter, Johnny Messer, therefore knew both Brad Holder and Elvis Fields. The recruiter, Johnny Messer, knew both Patrick Westfall and Elvis Fields. The recruiter, Johnny Messer, admitted in his October 23, 2018 videotaped interview that Rod Abrams, Ned Smith, and Elvis were all interested in joining the same club that he, Messer, and Holder were involved in, but he, Messer, claimed that he did not think Vinlanders would be interested in them. Messer's comment appears as a self-serving attempt to distance himself from being the person that connected Holder with Elvis in light of the fact that Dougie, a man who was mentally infirm, had been affiliated with the club. Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall were known for taking advantage of mentally infirm men who wanted to join Holder and Westfall's gangs. the Vinlanders. When mentally infirm men wanted to join Brad Holder and Westfall's gang, they, Holder and Westfall, would take advantage of these men, including have these mentally infirm men perform tasks. Elvis Fields was a mentally infirm man. Trooper Kevin Murphy described Elvis as having the mental capacity of maybe a 7 or 8-year-old. Evidence provided by law enforcement shows that Elvis Fields, 125 miles away and with no connection to Delphi or Logansport, was following Brad Holder on Facebook. Evidence provided by law enforcement shows that Elvis Fields was not only following Brad Holder, but that Elvis Fields was emulating Brad Holder by taking the time to recreate Brad Holder's Facebook posts in the year leading up to Abby and Libby's murders. Elvis's Facebook mimicking of Holder's posts may show that Elvis Fields was enamored of Brad Holder and also wanted to be part of Holder's gang. Holder was known to prey on lower functioning members of society and to take advantage of them, and Elvis was a lower functioning member of society. Was Holder grooming Elvis, hoping that down the road Elvis would do Holder's bidding? Did Elvis actually do Holder's bidding? Evidence supports that Elvis did in fact do Brad Holder's bidding. An eyewitness observed a man within a few hundred yards of the Monenhigh Bridge where the girls were abducted. The man looked like Elvis Fields. The name of the eyewitness is Teresa Liebert. Teresa Liebert lived on the same side of the Monenhigh Bridge, only 560 yards from the very place where the famous Down the Hill video was taken. A paved road, County Road 625 West, ends almost in front of Teresa Liebert's home. However, the road turns into a private gravel road that continues towards the Monenhigh Bridge and services the home of Brad Weber. Around 8:30 a.m. on the morning of February 13, 2013, Teresa Liebert observed a man on 625 West near her house standing near mailboxes used by property owners nearby. Teresa Liebert has never observed the homeowners walk to their mailboxes because of the distances from their homes to the mailboxes. The homeowners drive their vehicles to drop off and pick up their mail. Teresa Liebert had never seen this man before. Teresa Liebert was in the passenger side of a truck being driven by her husband, Dave Liebert. The man Teresa Liebert observed was standing close to the passenger side of the Liebert truck as they passed him. Teresa Liebert, sitting higher in the truck, had a good view of this man's face as she passed him and noticed that the man appeared to be startled and concerned at being seen. Teresa Liebert, in fact, turned to her husband and asked something like, "What do you think he's doing?" After passing the man and driving approximately 50 more yards to their driveway, the Lieberts exited their truck. After exiting the truck, Teresa looked in the direction of where the man had been and noticed that he was gone. Teresa did not see him on the road at all. Teresa believes the man had to immediately and intentionally hide after they passed him on the road, which would explain his sudden disappearance. The only reason anyone would be walking down that dead-end road would be if they were lost or if they were going to see the Liebert family or the Weber family. Teresa also remembers that the man she observed was wearing a canvas jacket and was nondescript in color, but doesn't remember a hat. Later, Teresa Liebert was asked to provide a description of the man's face that she observed that morning. She did provide the description. The sketch of the man that Teresa Liebert observed that morning closely resembles Elvis Fields. Even State Trooper Purdy had to admit that the Teresa Liebert sketch and the photo of Elvis Fields resemble one another. Find attached the Teresa Liebert sketch, marked as Exhibit 71, and a photo of Elvis Fields provided in the discovery that Purdy was comparing with the sketch, marked as Exhibit 72. After the girls were murdered, Elvis told his sister that he was now part of a gang and had a brother. Was the gang mentioned by Elvis Vinlanders, and was the brother Brad Holder? Again, these are the types of questions that monumentally inept unified command should have been asking. I want to make sure we're still connected. Okay, let me make sure here because Okay. Trooper Jerry Holman indicated in his deposition that there was no evidence. Okay, let's look at the thing. So it's still saying that we didn't get any more votes in the poll? Or is my chat all... No, my chat is an hour behind. That's good. Okay, the chat's an hour behind. Okay, I'm just going to read a little more of this and then we'll have to continue tomorrow. Oh my goodness, I'm going crazy with this. This is crazy. It won't let me back. Oh my goodness. Come on. Oh, brother. Okay, everybody, if you would like... I'm waiting to get back. I can just see you now in Streamlabs, but I can't get back to the real McCoy Live. I just wanted to finish at a place. Okay, now everything's frozen. That's great. I'm frozen. I'm frozen. I have to open up. Just so crazy. Oh my gosh. Don't even start. I'm just gonna go over here and I've got to open you up again. Oh my goodness. I can't believe this. The videos are all messed up. They don't have the right thumbnails. I gotta go do that. I gotta do it tomorrow. Oh, okay. Let's see if we can get this under control here and get to a point where we can stop, okay? Okay. All right. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see. Now, where were we? Oh my goodness. I gotta go through this whole thing again. the freak? Gosh, I don't even know where to go right now. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to find where we were. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how far we got. I was like, we're not that far. We are. Oh my gosh, we read through all of this. Wow. Okay, let's see. All right, pretty, yeah, I got through all that. Okay, here's where we were. Okay, we're over here. Okay, we read that. Doodly doodly doo. I read all that. Okay, I read that. Read all that. Wow. Okay. All right, I think I'm right over here. Let's see. Marking the tree. Okay, went on that. F. Yes, we did that. The meme that Brad posted. Yes, we got that. Okay, and then he came straight from work and his alibi and Elvis. And Elvis saying the sisters. Oh, here we were. We were by the mason jar. Elvis shows that Brad Holster posted a photograph of a single clear mason jar. Okay, we went through all that. Okay, and then Elvis to get him in the murders. Holder's alibi was not even close to vetted. Yes, we went through that. Did someone clock in for Holder? We went through all of that. Oh my goodness. We did Charles Manson. Okay. And the Minions. And about the recruiter. Okay, Teresa Liebert. Okay, this is where we were. Okay, later Teresa Liebert. All right, so the sketch of the man that Teresa Liebert observed that morning closely resembles Elvis Fields. Even State Trooper Purdy had to admit that the Teresa Liebert sketch and the photo of Elvis Fields resemble one another. We went through that. After the girls were murdered, Elvis told his sister, who was part of gang and a brother, which the gang mentioned by Elvis's Vinlanders, and that the brother, Brad Holder. Again, these are the types of questions that monumentally inept Unified Command should have been asking. Trooper Jerry Holman indicated in his deposition that there was no evidence that Brad Holder may have directed others to kill the girls. As stated earlier, Holman even proclaimed that Holder was not even really a suspect. The defense disagrees. Sometimes it just takes a little digging, a little curiosity, and the ability to put pieces of a puzzle together. Very early on, multiple tipsters contacted law enforcement via the tip line requesting that Brad Holder be investigated as a suspect, but Leggett and the Unified Command quickly cleared Holder as a suspect despite mounting evidence linking Holder to Abby Williams and the crime scene. Within days of the girls' ritualistic sacrifice, law enforcement started receiving tips from citizens who thought Brad Holder was possibly involved in the murder of the girls. For example, a report identified as DIN C00048 was submitted at 7:28 EDT on February 16, 2017. The narrative on this report stated the following: father of Logan Holder, ex-boyfriend of Libby, social media news shows him as a member of Vinlanders, posts of half-dead women, and fascination with gothic figures and symbols out of tree branches. This tip intake was shown as being evaluated by Delphi investigators. Only 10 minutes later, the evaluator of that intake concluded that this tip required a lead. 2 days later, Tony Leggett himself, at the time, approved the lead, therefore requiring further action be taken on the lead. Exhibit 45 was previously submitted as an unredacted copy of the document that was submitted confidentially. However, only 13 days later, Leggett would change his mind as to the importance of Brad Holder as a suspect. On March 1st, 2017, at 4:27 p.m., a report identified was reviewed by Leggett and was a local police report that was almost a word-for-word regurgitation of an FBI report discussed below. At the end, Leggett concluded that no leads required. This meant that after reviewing the contents, Leggett was not interested in following up on Brad Holder as a lead. On February 17, 2017, the FBI interviewed Holder as the Delphi Police Department. The turnaround on interviewing Brad Holder was very quick. Only 3 days had passed since the girls were found murdered. Attached is Defense Exhibit 73, which is the FBI report that memorialized that interview. According to that report, below is an interview summary. It is not intended to be a verbatim account and does not memorialize all statements made during the interview. Communication by the parties in the interview room were electronically recorded. The recording captures the actual words spoken. As stated earlier, over 9 months, Rick's defense team still does not possess this electronically recorded interview of Brad Holder. Otherwise, it would attach a copy of that recording for the court to review. Presumably, the electronically recorded interview still sits in the Delphi police station or possibly at the prosecutor's office, as the defense learned on September 11th that more discovery is ready to be picked up. Also in this document, Holder told Special Agent Robert Pohl and Hammond Police Sergeant Christopher Goethe the following. He, Brad Holder, stated that his son, Logan, 16 years old, was a friend of Abby. On Monday, the 13th, Holder received a text back from Delphi Police Department asking Holder to call back. Holder called the officer back and had a short conversation stating that he had never met the girls. The state police asked if they could examine Logan Holder's phone, and while they were collection the phone, they informed Logan and Brad that the girls were deceased. Holder stated that he visited Delphi every weekend to hang out with his friend Patrick Westfall. Westfall lived in Delphi and was a friend of Holder in the Army. Holder and Westfall served in the Afghanistan together. When Holder would go to Westfall's house, he would usually bring his son Logan. Logan and Westfall's son would generally go to Canal Park and play basketball. Holder believed that this is when Logan would contact Abby. Never actually met Abby himself. He believed that Logan only met her one time as they attended different schools. Holder knew Logan to communicate with her on the internet with his phone. Holder provided Westfall's phone number as blah, 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 blah. He also stated that Westfall suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder and is on disability. Holder continued to state that he and Westfall started a tribe of Asatru followers. Asatru was described as a warrior religion popular with members of the military. Holder, Westfall, and Westfall's girlfriend Rachel Miller host Asatru meetings every Wednesday at Westfall's house. Holder stated that there are only 5 to 6 regular members that attend. Holder was asked where he was on Monday. He stated that he was at work driving machinery at Waste Management in Buffalo, Indiana, until he clocked out sometime between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. After work, he went to the gym, work out anytime in Logansport. Again, this very FBI report was later converted into a document that was reviewed by Tony Leggett. Upon reviewing the document, Tony Leggett concluded that no leads required. In his August 8, 2023 deposition, Tony Leggett explained the different phrases used concerning how law enforcement dealt with tips. In the deposition, Leggett could not remember the exact language used to describe the situation when there was nothing more that could be done with the tip, meaning the tip was at a dead end. In the deposition, Leggett said that he believed the phrase used by law enforcement in reports to denote when essentially there was nothing left to do with the tip was no further leads. In his deposition, Leggett also differentiated between the meaning of no further leads and another phrase that might appear on reports, fully covered. According to Leggett, no further leads means that there was just nothing to this to start with. Fully covered means someone did something with it and it was completed. When pressed as to what those two phrases, no further leads and fully covered, meant in practical terms, or whether there would be an expectation of a future investigation related to the subject of the tip, Leggett said that both of those phrases meant that law enforcement had completed the work on the tip. In other words, the tip was dead. It is obvious between Leggett's deposition and the language Leggett used, no leads required, that he, Leggett, had concluded that there was no further investigation needed of Brad Holder at the time because, as he said in his deposition, there had been nothing there from the beginning that needed investigating concerning Holder, meaning no more work to be done, no more investigation to be conducted concerning Brad Holder. Nothing to see here. Holder had an alibi. Please look at the next suspect. On March 1st, 2017, Leggett essentially gave up investigating Brad Holder because of Holder's purported alibi. At the time the decision was made, it was known that Brad Holder was a proud Odinite who loved to post about the pagan religion of which he was a part. It was also known that he used sticks and tree branches to form patterns that were similar to those left behind at the crime scene. Exhibits 75 to 84 are just a few of the images on Holder's Facebook pages, mostly before Abby and Libby's murder. Law enforcement also knew at the time Brad Holder was spending his weekends in Delphi with his friend Patrick Westfall. It was also known that Brad Holder's son Logan had some sort of dating relationship with Abby. This all seems like the type of information that would absolutely require an intense continued investigation into Brad Holder and not a no further leads tag from Leggett. It would be crazy to think that at this early stage of the investigation and with all the information that was already known by Leggett, that he, Leggett, would assign the designation of no further leads, ending the investigation of Brad Holder only 15 days after the girls were found brutally murdered at a very bizarre crime scene. Perhaps Leggett typing in no leads required was simply a typographical error or a clerical error or an unfortunate oversight. Perhaps it was a one-off circumstance. However, other reports demonstrate that Leggett did not commit a typographical error when he typed no leads required into the March 1st, 2017 report. It was intentional or reckless. For example, another tip had been supplied to law enforcement on March 9th, 2017 at 10:17 p.m. An unredacted copy of this report has been attached and marked as Exhibit 85 and has been filed confidentially. In this report, the tipster told law enforcement that she, the tipster, had checked Brad Holder and found him to be a dark and scary person through some of his postings on Facebook. You might want to check him out. Again, this is another example of a citizen who knows nothing about the secretive crime scene, unlike law enforcement who knew that sticks and branches were placed on the girls. Yet, even with the knowledge of the crime scene, this tipster, like many others, recognized that Brad Holder's Facebook page was dark and disturbing and required further inspection and investigation, especially knowing that Brad's son was dating Abby Williams. As the tipster proclaimed to law enforcement about Brad Holder, you might want to check him out. Except the problem was that Tony Leggett did not want to check Brad Holder out. Quite the opposite. After reviewing that particular tip sheet, as you can see at the end of the report, Leggett wrote, "No leads required, has been covered." Essentially, Leggett was saying, nothing to see here, please move on to a different suspect. In fact, as it relates to this tip, Leggett was doubling down on his concluding remarks by stating both that there were no leads required and that Brad Holder has been covered. There could be no doubt whatsoever that as of March 13, 2017, when Leggett wrote down those words, when Leggett did not want Holder checked out any further as a suspect, did Leggett's refusal to investigate influence other law enforcement officers to clear up Brad Holder as a suspect? Yes. On March 14, 2017, a tip came and identified as, there's a number there, an unredacted version is attached and marked as Exhibit 86 and filed confidentially. The tipster let law enforcement know that he, the tipster, had reviewed Brad Holder's Facebook page and posts and felt that Brad Holder put off a bad vibe. This lead was evaluated by Kevin Hammond, who was a member of the Unified Command along with Leggett and Holman. Kevin Hammond wrote in his evaluation, "No leads required. Brad Holder has been cleared." Again, any even moderately curious human being would have looked at Brad Holder's Facebook page, compared images. Lost my thing here. Compared images on Brad Holder's Facebook page to the crime scene, and then considered that Brad's son was dating Abby and that Brad was part of what appeared to be a religious cult, and thought, wow, this is a guy we better investigate. Instead, Hammond followed Leggett's lead. In the system, Leggett had already cleared Holder, so that is exactly what Hammond did when entering his findings into the system. Now, two members of the Unified Command, Tony Leggett and Kevin Hammond, had both disregarded the already mounting evidence that possibly pointed the finger at Brad Holder. Both Tony Leggett and Kevin Hammond had stopped the investigation into Brad Holder dead in its tracks by claiming that Brad Holder had been cleared as a suspect only 4 weeks after the girls were murdered. Did anyone other than local law enforcement clear Brad Holder as a suspect early on? Yes. On March 19, 2017, at 11:23 Eastern Standard Time, another tip came in believed to be Brad Holder sounded like a man on the famous audio released by law enforcement. An unredacted copy of the tip sheet is attached and marked as Exhibit 87 and filed confidentially. This time it was FBI agent Michael Peasley following the lead of Leggett, which indicated at the bottom of the report that Holder had been cleared. On April 14, 2017, another tip came in claiming that Brad Holder had changed his appearance following the girl's murder. The tipster further indicated that Holder even attended the girl's funeral, and that although he typically did not wear glasses, he was wearing glasses at the funeral. This unredacted report, identified as blah blah blah, is marked as Exhibit 88 and filed confidentially. Although other tip sheet reports exist, they tell a similar story. The defense offers up one last report related to Brad Holder. On August 14, 2017, at 12:59 p.m., a woman contacted police. The report memorialized the tip as follows. 2 women posted to a Facebook group that Brad Holder was responsible for the homicides. The tipster saw this post and told police the contents of that post. The tipster went on to summarize what she read. Holder is a pagan, murdered the girls as sacrifices, and left an F on the victims' bodies. Holden's son Logan is Abigail's ex-boyfriend. Obviously, the F left at the crime scene was not left on the girls' bodies, but rather on the tree, painted using Libby's blood. However, how would this information concerning the letter F have been known for anyone to talk about? A curious person might ask, could it be that someone who participated in the murders had talked about the crime scene with someone who talked to someone else, slightly mixing up the facts as the story passed from person to person? Law enforcement should have viewed this tip as something extraordinarily important because it was a tip that provided secretive information about the crime scene not known by the public. The information about an F being left at the scene was not only unavailable to the public, but there was no evidence that it was being discussed on the internet. This tipster could have been interviewed. The Facebook group member could have been interviewed. The state police or FBI tech people could have tracked down the people that posted this information to determine where they received this F information. Continued investigation as to the source of the knowledge of the F discussed on the chat group could ultimately lead to someone who was at the crime scene and participated in the murders. That is what good law enforcement would do. Instead, what happened, as you can see on intake, blah, 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 any potential investigation stemming from the potentially game-changing information of someone's knowledge of the letter F being involved in the crime scene ended before it even began. The defense had marked an unredacted copy of the report as Exhibit 89 and filed it as confidential. The law enforcement officer that eventually evaluated the tip must have understood the importance of mentioning the letter F because conduct follow-up was the request made. However, the next person in the chain, Roland Purdy, upon reviewing the tip, simply followed the previous lead of Leggett and Hammond, and when it came to possibly further investigation of the tip generated from that report, Roland Purdy, in a report identified as Invest Lead, called Brad Holder, fully covered, nothing further to do. Who were these people that somehow knew about the F at the crime scene, and how did they obtain that information? The world will never know because Trooper Purdy followed Leggett and Hammond's lead and buried that up by claiming that Brad Holder had been cleared as a suspect. Okay, we're going to end it there. Somebody remember 88. We've gone through 88 pages. 88 pages we read tonight, besides everything else we did. So, that's good. Now we're just going to do the daily puzzle and then going to go to bed because I am exhausted and I had a huge day. I really would like to finish up this reading, but we'll do it tomorrow. I have about 50 pages or something. You gotta fly? Okay, Liza, thanks for watching. We'll try to do this real fast. It reminds me of that Barry Morphew affidavit. Remember that crazy thing? All right, let's see. Here's our daily puzzle. Iron? Who said iron? I-61? Iron. Very good. Let's see. Gain. Okay. Who said gain? I-61 again. Where's Beth? She's not here. I's pretty good at this. Ringo? I don't think so. Do you think so? No. Okay. Air. I did air. It was there. Oh, here's Kevin. How are you feeling, Kevin? Groan. Okay, murder crows. Groan. If there's only one three-letter word in it, it won't work. I did air, it didn't work. Oh, there's Margot. Look at all these people coming out of the woodwork now. There, you got it, Margot. Gag. Thank you. Let's see. Come on. We gotta finish this. No more three-letter words, everybody. No more three letters. Come on, come on, come on. Marvel. You already got Oregon, Kevin? I tried aggro. Didn't work. Yeah, good. Roar. Okay. I tried that. Hi. Doesn't work. Raring. Okay, Margot. Thank you. And then Angora. Oh, there's L. What did you all wake up now? Can't do Angora. There's only one A. Everybody woke up now. Crazy. Groin? Oh, groin. Okay. Hey, okay, good. Thank you. That we're gonna call it quitzers for tonight. Because we were doing really good in our other live, and then it just quit on us, and then we lost a whole bunch of people. But hopefully they'll find us tomorrow for the rest of it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I will talk to you later. Okay. Love you guys. God bless. Prayers, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay. All right. Bye now. Bye.